To Down Adversity to Strength, I'm joined by Ralph Brewer, a writer, speaker, a men's coach whose work focuses on one thing: helping men rebuild their lives after loss. Ralph works with men who've been knocked off course by divorce, broken relationships, career setbacks, or a loss of purpose. His message is blunt but grounded. Rebuilding isn't about becoming alpha or following dating hacks. It's about honesty, self awareness, boundaries, taking responsibility for your life. He's the founder of Help for Men and the creator of the Brotherhood, a global community of over 800 men who meet weekly to talk openly about marriage, fatherhood, mental health, intimacy, and identity without shame, politics, or posturing. Ralph is also the author of 5 books, including Rebuild, The Complete Guide to Starting Over as a Man, The Dead Bedroom Fix, and Divorce Panic. He hosts the Dad Starting Over podcast, known for its mix of empathy, tough love, and real world insight. In this conversation, we talk about why so many men struggle in silence, what actually helps after divorce or betrayal, and why male connection and brotherhood matter more than ever. Ralph doesn't speak in theory, he speaks through lived experience. This is an honest conversation about loss, responsibility, masculinity, and what it really means to rebuild your life with dignity. Ralph, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. So much there, so much that you do, and so much that you've done. Take us back to the beginning of your journey. Where did it all begin for
Oh boy.
yourself? Where did it
Okay,
start?
so picture it. Sunny Florida. I'm on the beach with my wife and 3 little kids. The kids are aged a year and a half old,
Yeah,
6 and 9 at the time.
all sounding good.
So 3 little ones, and I'm on day one of a 5-day vacation on the beach.
Yeah,
Make a long story short, wife, I had hurt my back. Back then I was always hurting my back, which ironically, and I'm jumping ahead in the story, I haven't done since the divorce for years, but that's neither here nor there. But so I'm hobbling around on the beach, and the littlest one, who's a year and a half old, is starting to get cranky, and my wife at the time says, "Why don't you take him up to the condo, which was about 100 yards away that we had rented, and put him down for a nap?" And I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Then I can lay down and rest. My back is killing me." So carry the kid, hobble it up to the condo there, put him down, shower him off, put him to bed. He takes his nap. I lay down on the couch and I grab the laptop that we shared. Open up the laptop and it is logged into Facebook. And my wife is logged in. And the next step, I don't know why I did this. I really don't. I had zero suspicion of any wrongdoing or anything like that, but I clicked on her messages icon, which was showing she had a new message. And I clicked on it. To make a long, very painful story short, that was the beginning of the end. I discovered that she was leading a life that I wasn't aware of.
sure.
And I presented her with evidence of, look what I found, initial denial, and to eventually we return home and she says, I'm done. And a short 60 days later, we were divorced. So it was just boom, 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 just like that. I went from boring guy hobbling around on a beach, thinking that, while my marriage was anything but exciting and sexy and fun and everything, at least it was
Yeah,
predictable and safe and comfortable.
yeah,
And I went from that to, you are a single father, you got the little kids most of the time. Good luck with that, buddy. And your debts and assets, now you have to go find a new woman. Now, welcome to the world of dating and all that. And it was just overwhelming, and I had a very
yeah,
difficult time coping with all that. Plus, to add to all that, the betrayal factor of all this, it's very difficult for a
yeah,
man to overcome. And you've been living a lie, and you start questioning your
yeah, yeah,
past and everything. It was nuts. So part of my method of coping or therapy for myself, first I did go to a therapist.
yeah,
It was a woman,
yeah,
and she clued me in on some things, which I'll get to later. But another part of my therapy was to go back and do some things that I kind of put aside when I had a wife and kids. So you can see behind me, I have a guitar. I got back into music.
yeah,
Is kind of a thing that was just therapeutic for me, things that I enjoyed. And another thing that I enjoyed was writing. I used to love writing as a kid. I don't know why, but creative writing and journaling and things like that, just totally got away from it. And I'm going to create a blog called Dad's Starting Over. And I'm going to tell the world about my adventures as a guy starting over in life and my thoughts on the relationship game and everything. And like most blogs, most people don't read it. If you have a few readers, you're like, woohoo. And I would write on a variety of topics. And the only one that ever got any attention that was noteworthy was when I wrote on the topic of sex and marriage. My experience is being married for 15 years to the woman and a dead bedroom relationship and all this other stuff and the stress that went with it. And by the time I got to writing, I had, been a few years into the divorce and I had a girlfriend. I had dated around for a while, way too early in the process, which is very common in my world. A lot of anxiously attached men looking for some kind of validation and love from the
Yeah,
opposite
of
sex.
course.
I was one of
Yeah,
those guys. So
yeah.
thankfully, I landed on a woman who would later become wife number two, Natalie, and we are still together. So I was dating her at the time. It was still relatively new, and I was blogging, and I was talking about my experience in the honeymoon stage and a new relationship with this woman versus what I experienced for so many years with her and the disconnect. And my ex was a very avoidant individual, and my new woman seems to be more secure, if maybe a little anxious herself, and my experience with all that. And that got a lot of attention. And I had people saying, I like what you write about this. You should write a book on the sex and marriage thing. So I did. And that book actually took off. As far as the self-published book is concerned, it did well.
Yeah.
So much so that I wrote three editions of it. The third edition just came out last year, and that book is called The Dead Bedroom Fix. And most people that come to my material know me from that book. It just took off. It went all over the world. So there's about 300,000 copies of it or something like that sold. So it did really
That's
well.
impressive. That's great.
So I got lucky, I did well, wrote a book, it took off, woohoo. There was some advertising behind it on Facebook that at the time was relatively cheap. That helped put me in front of tens of thousands of people. So that allowed me, because of all the eyeballs on my stuff and messages I'm receiving, people would be like, can I talk to you one on one about my issues? I went through the same thing with divorce and blah, blah, blah. So I would talk to them, no charge, just to be nice. And we would talk over Skype. And then there's a pattern here. Somebody said, you should charge for your time. You're really good at this. Like coaching people. I'm like, what do I know about that? First, it was, what do I know about writing a book? That did well. What do I know about
Yeah.
coaching people? Do you need to get certified? Do you have to be that? I'm not a therapist. What do I know about this? So I tried it and it did well. And then, make a long story short, we decided I hired a guy to help me out with some of the back end business stuff. And he said, you should do something that brings in some kind of regular income because your book sales aren't going to last forever. You can't live off this. And it's like, well, we need to do something, some kind of support community for men. So we did that. The Dad Starting Over brand sustained for years, but it's in its name, it's pretty limiting because I have guys that are like, I'm not a dad, but I love your material. I'm married and I want to stay that way, and I love your material. I'm not starting over. And so we started a brand a few years back called Help for Men. And your listeners and viewers can learn
Yeah,
more at
yeah.
helpformen.com. And then our
Yeah.
private support community within that, our members group, is called the Brotherhood. And that's where we have some 800 some men going on 900 men. We're adding new men every single day to it now for the past several months. And so it's been great. And we do live Zoom meetings. This week we had 8 of them. Next week we have like 6. So we have pretty frequent live Zoom meetings, an hour each at least. And then we record all of those meetings. We have over 1,500 hours of meetings recorded at this point. All my books at no charge for them. We have a private forums for our members that are very active. We get together in person in the US as well as Australia for an annual conference. We have courses. We do the coaching with myself and 5 other gentlemen. They each have their own little expertise. We have a fitness guy, a guy that overcame codependency, is a nice guy syndrome, another guy who's ADHD and on the autism spectrum, so he knows about the
Yeah.
neurodivergence. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's been, I don't recommend this as a way to spearhead a career to go into something as traumatic as what I went through. But in the end, I'm glad I did, and
Yeah.
it taught me a lot about myself. It made me face some demons within myself that I didn't really want to look at. Why did I get in such a relationship and hang on for so long? Those kind of difficult questions. And because of what I went through in my material, I tend to attract a certain type of individual to my material, and they're all basically me. A bunch of anxiously attached men with some dysfunctional childhood background got with the
Yeah.
wrong woman, and they're just trying to reconcile all this and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they're looking for help from other men who've been there and done that. And that's what our community is at the Brotherhood.
Yeah. Uh, it sounds, I mean, I've read up on what you do, and it sounds great because guys are so desperate to find help. They struggle to find help there. As a therapist, the amount of guys that's come to me is the first time I've had therapy and they burst into tears, and
Mm,
it's almost relief.
holding it all
It's,
in. Yeah.
oh, yeah, exactly there as well. And the fact that with yourself, you've been through what they've been through or are going through or even
Mm,
possibly about to go through there as well. But going back to like the breakup there as well, you're left with 3 kids and all the bills and all that kind of thing. what was your thoughts there? Are you trying to recover from basically, as a therapist, you're going through a loss of bereavement because one minute you're on the beach with a bad back, and next thing you know, your life's totally changed.
Yeah.
It's you've got to then deal with all the betrayal, the mourning, the grief, the moving on there as well. Where did that leave you? Because that's a new start that's been forced on you.
It was when I look back on that moment, I don't know how I managed because it was so every minute of every day was filled with something. I was on autopilot, just holding
Yeah,
it together. I was just like picture like a robot that's, held together with some twine here and some glue here. And so I was in a constant keeping it all together mode. So it
yeah,
was, I was commuting for a while there. I was commuting an hour to work and an hour back. So I would commute to work for an hour, and then I get a call that one of my three kids threw up at school. You need to pick them up. Or you reach out to the ex. Are you able to? Nope, I'm out of town. I got to drive back down. So take this kid to this practice and do this and the homework. And it was nuts.
yeah.
So I was very much in survival mode for the first several years.
Several years.
And during that time, my ex was very much going through some stuff, whatever that was, if you want to call it a midlife crisis or whatever it was. And she was unfortunately somewhat emotionally disconnected from our children. So it was when it was supposed to be on paper 50-50, 1 week with me, 1 week with mom. So it would be,
Yeah,
hey, I can't pick up the kids this Sunday. Do you mind keeping them extra day, extra 2 days? I can't pick them up from here. Can you pick them up there? Eventually, it got to the point where I had the kids like 80% of the time at one point. It's very stressful for a single guy who's never really done that before, all by himself with the job.
yeah,
So eventually, I had to go to the employer and say, I need to work from home. And my idea is maybe work for you part time from home, and I go and work for others. And thankfully, I had a boss who was very understanding of all that. And he's like, I love the idea. And he said, in fact, I know two guys who would hire you tomorrow because they always talk about having you do projects for them. And I was always like, nah, that's my employee. So now why don't you go work for them? So I was getting like three paychecks from three different companies from working from home. So it was money wise. I was like, oh, that solves a lot of
yeah,
issues
yeah,
there. Logistics, I can work, if I need to go work at 10 p.m. at night on stuff because I got to do kid stuff during the normal day.
yeah.
That's what I did. I did that for years. And then on top of all that, doing the dad starting over and then help for men thing in the background. And then eventually the help for men thing became my full time career. That's what I do now. And I talk to people on podcasts like yourself every day almost. I
Yeah.
do our meetings, the coaching sessions, all that good stuff. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you can tell you love it and the enthusiasm there. And the thing is, it's something that generally makes a difference. And it's something that's such a shortage for guys out there as well. It sounds like you just kind of like built this momentum up without even realizing. And
Yeah.
before you know it, it's just like, where did that go? Look where I'm at now. And your life's just totally changed.
Hmm.
Almost probably to a point it was almost unintentional, and then you're like, well, actually now we're here, what else can we do and expand it there as well? And
Yeah.
with the amount of podcasts that you do there, with all the work you put in, it's like, you're building up and expanding there as well, which I think is brilliant there as well. How did you find when you realized, actually, this is me now, this is my life, I'm a single dad? And the thing is, you're working from home, you're doing the school runs, and you're juggling, but you're surviving as we do. Because I know, being a single dad myself, how
Mhm.
did you take a breath and go, this is actually what I'm doing now, and I'm surviving it?
It's almost like I didn't allow myself to. That's
Yeah,
one fault of mine is that once I get kind of into something, I get very, very into something to the point where
yeah,
burnout is a very common thing for me. I have to
yeah,
pace myself and take a time out. So I took that same kind of energy into this of I got to hold it all together. I got to do this and I got to do that. I didn't really take time for myself to go, hold on a second, Ralph. First of all,
yeah,
you're about to burn out. What is it that got you into this mess? That kind of came later in the process. At the early
yeah,
stages, it was just holding it all together. And
yeah,
when I look back on that moment, and this is something I share with a lot of guys, I was kind of nutty too. It was kind of a manicky state that I was in.
yeah,
Whether it's kind of my way of coping with it, my way of just going through the motions of life to avoid those difficult questions and that difficult retrospection, looking back on what was and trying to figure that out. I just put that all aside and just focused on now and just kept going,
yeah.
going, going. And that's not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world, but that's what I did
No.
at the time.
It's good in some ways, but it comes at a cost. There's focusing on something, and then there's the avoidance side. And
Mm.
eventually, as a therapist, I can tell you the avoidance side, it catches up with you there as well. How did you find going to therapy then? I'm kind of assuming for the first time, then you out of nowhere, life's changed, and suddenly you're speaking to a therapist about things, and then yourself, things start coming up from your past. You
Yeah,
start to feel,
it was very emotional, that's for sure.
yeah,
And she really opened up a lot of things that made me at a kind of an intellectual level go interesting, but at the same time also very like it's depressing. I never thought about it that way. You're right. Those things that not to go into too much detail were one of the key phrases, and I often share this with guys, and a lot of my material is that the therapist was listening to some of my stories from childhood and how I was relating them to now, what I was
yeah,
going through then. And she just smirked and she goes, "It's kind of creepy, isn't it? How it's almost like we're powerless in, how does she put it? We're powerless in repeating history if we don't, take control. Our natural tendency is just to do the same things all over
yeah.
again that our mom and dad did and so forth." It's like, yeah, you're right. I'm kind of reliving a lot of the same stuff my mom and dad lived through when they were kids and all that good stuff. And it's kind of interesting how the imagery I often use is a lot of us who've been given the baggage of kind of dysfunctional childhoods, it's like a car that has really poor balance. And if
Yeah.
you take your hands off the wheel and just let it go, it goes right off the road and into a tree and it's kaboom and it's fiery explosion. You have to constantly make corrections to stay on the road. You have to, no, I got to put up some boundaries. No, I got to do this. No, I have to watch out for, not gonna burn out. Not do, otherwise I
Yeah.
just crash and burn. And thankfully I know it now, and that's something I can pass along to the kids to be more proactive about going through life as opposed to just letting it happen to you. Because when you just let it happen, there you go, doing what mom did, doing dad did.
Yeah, and it's easy to end up, especially from our childhood. I mean, as a therapist, I spend most of my time talking about childhoods because that's where predominantly you always end up going.
That's where you end up going anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll become a therapist. And I'm like, I'm not going to be the same with all the therapists. I'm going to do things differently. And you just find yourself saying the same things.
There's a reason
So,
all the others do the same thing.
yeah, absolutely, it is there.
It, what's
But
interesting is that I have found that men are pretty resistant to that. Where they kind of poo-poo the whole childhood thing and they kind of wave it off and roll their eyes at like, yeah, yeah. So my dad beat the crap out of me when I was a kid. We have since, we've reconciled, my dad and I, we've gotten past that. And yeah,
yeah,
my mom was a cheater, alcoholic and stuff like that, but I love her. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, dude, this has a lot to do with what got you in this mess. This is why you're
yeah.
attracted to a woman like that and on and on.
Yeah, it's quite funny when you're explaining to like a guy that you basically dating your mum, your ex-wife's your mum. What do
Ooh,
you mean?
that's
Oh,
tough to hear.
yeah, absolutely. And when you do the likenesses, and then because I'm very much on patterns and have that's how I can be quite accurate on things, and predict things. If you've got this set of circumstances, the law of averages, you're probably going to get this outcome there. But
Hmm.
you, I find with guys, and you probably get this yourself, that you often get the skeptical. But when you explain something or they recognize something, they go from the skeptical to the converted. And then
The
next
true
thing you know,
believer. Yep.
they're telling their friends, you should be doing this as well. I get that a lot there as well. I'm like, oh, it's a
Hmm.
breakthrough there as well. But it's just recognizing that. And one of the things I find, and be the same for yourself, I'd imagine, is that people don't realize just what they've been through. And often they will always try and trivialize what they've been through to
Hmm.
make it not sound as bad. Yeah, and they don't realize often what they're saying or what they've actually been through. And it might be like yourself, where you point out, and then there's an epiphany of, oh my God, I didn't realize it was as bad as that.
Yeah.
And then the real work starts. Yeah,
That's
you get that a
it's
lot.
it's common in a lot of people with dysfunctional childhoods that they don't get a this is really sad that they don't get a sense of what's healthy except for what they see on like sitcoms on TV shows when they watch how mom and dads interact and kids and the whole nuclear family and stuff. You watch that and go, that's not very realistic. That's not. And you realize, no, that's healthy. That's how healthy people act for mom and dad under the same roof and talking things out and everybody. That's very foreign to a lot of us. We don't see that. A lot of us, like myself, was very much a latchkey kid, as we call it in America, which is I came home
Yeah,
and mom and dad weren't there. They were working. And they didn't get home
yeah.
till later. So I had to learn to cook for myself and do everything for myself, which made me a self-sustaining guy, but it also made me, yeah, not able to trust others in a lot of ways, a lot of avoidance in me. So I kind of
Yeah,
waffle between the two. So yeah.
yeah. And do you find that with a lot of the guys, they've got similar circumstances to yourself? Then there's give or
Yeah,
take, it's the same
very
half a
similar.
dozen. Yeah,
If I have a guy who tells me he caught his wife in her fifth affair or something like that, and he sticks with her and sticks with her and sticks with her, very codependent in nature, and you're like, what is it you think about you that causes you to, number one, find a woman like this, Number two, stick with her through all of this nonsense. When his friends are telling him to run, when his therapist, when Ralph, the coach guy's telling him to run, and I don't know. Well, anything in your past about this? Well, my mom did cheat on my dad. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's there you go, dude. That has and
yeah,
they're just like, but that was then. That's it's funny. Just again, you don't take control, you don't grab the wheel, and you don't steer yourself purposely away from those people who feel comfortable to you for a reason. That's the real mind f, as we say, for a lot of men. Is when I say, like, men will paint a picture that's really, really negative about their soon-to-be ex or ex-spouse or whatever it may be. And he's just 45 minutes of like, and then she's this, and then she's that, and I'm like, all right, time out.
yeah,
Of all the human beings on the planet Earth, why did you pick your wife? Because you don't really like her all that much. And by the way, probably for good reason. She did this bad thing and that bad thing. So why her?
yeah,
And he'll say, well, I don't know. I mean, when we first met, it was just like one of the guys. It was just like I was so comfortable, just whatever with her. She wasn't overly dramatic. She wasn't histrionic like all these other girlfriends I had. She was just normal, sedate, normal. I could talk to her about anything. She felt very comfortable. It's like I've known her my whole life. She's like, and it's like, yeah, maybe in that familiarity, given your very dysfunctional childhood background, maybe that familiarity is should have been your red flag of like, doo,
oh,
something's off here. But they
yeah.
don't see it
I
that
mean,
way. They see like she's my soulmate is what how they
yeah.
look at that.
It's like you've got like I've endlessly with like clients where they've had like a narcissistic parent, and then they've got their relationships have all been with that a guy that's a narcissist exactly the same, and you're going out of your father over and over again. Oh my god, I had no idea. Yeah, no. Because you go with what you know. And
Hmm.
often you go with what you know, even if you know it's wrong for you, because you don't know any different. And also, that means getting out of your comfort zone, which is too risky after everything you've been through. So you repeat the cycle there as well. So I think with yourself, you find a lot of what you do is breaking patterns and cycles for people.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if you they just do this, especially with the romantic relationships, they just do the same pattern again and again.
Yeah.
A very, very common thing amongst the anxious men, that's the label that I give a lot of these guys. They're anxious in their temperament. They're very, very filled with a lot of anxiety, very neurotic men, but they're also anxious in their attachment. They're very preoccupied as far as their attachment to their partners is concerned. So those guys tend to not like being alone. So they'll be in a relationship and that woman says, I've cheated on you or whatever, get out of here. And I mean, to say that the ink isn't even dry on the divorce papers doesn't do it justice. They haven't even seen a divorce paper yet. It's just been verbalized. I'm going to go stay with my aunt, the woman says, or with my mom or my friend or whatever. And he's like, bye. That night, he's getting on the Tinder or whatever the apps are to find
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how a lot of men frame it is, I'm a man, I'm horny, I want company. I haven't had any in a while because she's, not touched me in so many months or years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go out there and do it. And they don't realize they're just using these women who are probably equally as broken as he is. Otherwise, they wouldn't be with him.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a human band-aid. Make me feel better, woman.
It's the instant external validation, and often you'll find just underneath the surface there's a lot of abandonment there as well.
Yep. It
Yeah,
doesn't,
so
can't, yeah.
his patterns is predictable there as well. So, and sometimes I'll explain things to. I said, do you ever with like a client? Do you ever go through this, and this? And does it make you feel? Oh my god, it's like you're there. How do you know this? You know,
Do you have a camera in my home? How did you know that? It's like all the
it's
stories are the same. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's like you know me. I was like, well, yeah, if you've been through this and this, you likely respond to this and this and this, and go for that type of person. It's all said, oh, okay, great. What I find, and I guess you probably find yourself, is when you can kind of tell somebody that is this what's been going on, and they're like, that's me exactly. It
Hmm.
builds a lot of confidence and trust in you because they know this guy knows what he's on about. He's here for me. He understands. Do you find you get that a lot?
Oh, in my book, The Dead Bedroom Fix, one of the most common comments or emails I'll get back is like, how did you have a camera in my house?
Yeah, yeah,
The scenarios that you were writing were so creepily similar to mine. I word for word had that same conversation with my wife. This is kind of nuts. Is it really that common? Oh, yeah, dude, it's that common. That book is basically written for anxiously attached men with avoidant wives, and it's some things to do to become a more secure individual, and Spoiler alert, at the end of the book, chapter 7, it basically says this may not work. But what it may do is shine light on the fact that you're a very insecure dude who was with a very insecure woman, and at baseline, this relationship was doomed from the beginning. This is not healthy what you're going through, and I hope now you have a sense of security to realize that. You may have a very good woman on your hands, and you, Mr. Anxious, may need to yank your head out of your butt and realize that you need to get off her back, and maybe getting off her back and giving her some room to breathe will allow her to come more to center and come. But for some of you, you're with a woman who's cheated 5 times and she's done all these things. I keep saying that because that's a very real thing. We've heard that. And
Yeah.
you need to, I was going to use a crass term, but get your
Go
confidence.
for it.
You get your balls back, so to speak.
Yeah.
Grab
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
cojones and realize that you have some value and realize your worth, and you're worth more than that, dude. And
Yeah.
that's it takes a while for men to get there.
Yeah.
That sense of
I've had
duty, that sense
guys.
of loyalty. Yeah, they don't want to give it up.
And I've had guys that's come to me, and they've, and one of the areas that I work in a lot is narcissistic relationships, and I've had
Mm,
guys that's come out of it, and they're a shell of the person they were. They're like one of them Easter eggs with nothing inside, that sort of thing. And I have to, I'm very blunt and to the point, and honest with them. And I'm like, right, this a narcissistic relationship, it takes you 3 times longer to get over than a
mm,
normal relationship. Here's the reason why. And to actually work through them and get them to start building their confidence and self-esteem up can take a lot. It can feel a long way to go to get them there as well. Especially if they've been in like some sort of toxic relationship for a long time. So
hmm.
to
Yeah,
break the cycle, you
those
know.
narcissistic. That's really bad. Their sense of self worth is so low. They have such a sense of scarcity after being in a relationship. Like no one will ever love me. No one will ever be with me again. I can't. But at the same time, you want to give those men a sense of self-worth and say, no, you'll be fine. You just need to, it's going to take time to get over this and go see your therapist and talk and go to group work and work through all of this. But again, the quick, easy fix is cute girl at work said I look handsome. We're going out for coffee tomorrow. Woohoo, I'm in love all over again. And what I tell those men is be careful. You are primed to do this all over again. And it is creepy just how much it happens. And the women may love bomb, as they call it at the beginning,
Yeah,
the honeymoon stage where everything feels
yeah,
amazing. And this person
yeah,
says and does everything I like. And it's like they were created for me. And then
yeah.
something flips. And then you're
It's
like,
called
oh crap.
mirroring. It's called
Yeah,
mirroring.
mirroring. Yep, there you go. And then
The red
something flips.
flags. It's like the red flags, and I explain to clients is the red flag where you meet somebody and they everything about you is they're your soulmate after a week. Every
Mm.
guy they've met previously was a psycho. Um, you've done more than what they've ever done put together, and yet all you've ever done has been sat on the sofa. Let's get engaged. Let's move in together. We're the ones for each other, and it's the manipulation of let's get you attached and involved as quickly as you can before you've had time to think about it.
Hmm.
And if you're vulnerable, if you've come from a relationship that was loveless or anything, childhood, you're more susceptible because you then find yourself caught up in a relationship. You ignore what
Yeah.
if you're not aware of it, why would you ignore all the flattery, all the love bombing? I didn't get this in the last 10 years of my relationship. I'll take what I can get. What about the red flags? Ignore that. This is too good. And then
Hmm.
suddenly you're caught up. I'm guessing you've had plenty of guys like that.
Oh, I've experienced that myself. I mean,
Yeah. How do you
the women that I fell madly in love with shortly after my divorce, who ended
yeah.
up being just complete whack jobs. Yeah, absolutely. And what's so common is a lot of men will say that rebound relationship, as we call it, the first one that you really fall in love with, and you're like, I think this is the one. I think the universe has blessed me with this perfect woman. And after all
So
this,
soon.
after all the hell I endured for all those years, thank you, God. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
the rug gets pulled out from underneath them, and something
Yeah.
happens that they can't ignore. Maybe caught her using drugs or infidelity or something like that, and he has to face the demon of this isn't what I thought she was. This is a really bad situation. I need to run out of here. A lot of men will say that breakup hurts way worse than the divorce that they just endured after the for the woman that they've been with for 10, 20 years or whatever, because it felt as if life was gifting them with a, here's for all your struggles, and they realize, oh no, it's another one, another bad one.
Yeah, it's very easy done. And I've had clients where they've done the same day, and I'm like, you're going out with the same girl over and over. Oh no, but she's. I'm like, trust me on this. And this, especially with that type of relationship, there's just so much denial. and they
Yeah.
can't see it, even if everybody else can. I've had like female clients where I'm like, she's like, yeah, I quit my last couple of therapists because they said that my partner's a narcissist. And I'm like, I'm very honest. And 2 minutes later, I'm like, he's a narcissist. Do you
Yeah.
think why? Well, here's the reasons as to why. That's what they all said. What do your friends think? They all say the same, but I can't see it. But
Yeah.
and even when you point out the overwhelming evidence, there's more evidence than the OJ trial. They're like, but their brain just can't comprehend it because of what they've been subjected to, where they've been gaslit for so long. That
Oh,
kind
I
of thing
know. Yeah.
as
It's
well.
sad. And you're just sitting there wide eyed going, hello. But there's a phrase I love. I don't know if you've heard this one. It's tough to read the label when you are inside the jar. So it's
That's
tough
a
to,
good one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, see the outside.
Yeah, it's a similar one. And especially for people in like whether it's abusive relationships, or whatever, it's not until they're outside of the relationship they realize just what that actual relationship they were in there as well. And it's like, how did I even get to this? Well, it's step by step, bit by bit. It's not just one
Yeah.
hit. Otherwise, nobody would stick in that relationship there as well. So
Yeah.
it's hard work. And I think if you've got guys coming to you that's trying to recover, I think there's a lot of work to be done there as well. And I think if they can speak to yourself and other guys that's been through similar, that builds confidence because
Hmm.
even though we already know this, we when things happen, our brain always tells us it's just us. So to actually know it's other people as well
A
gives us a
sense of
bit of
community. Yeah. To have a
sense of
sense of
community.
community. Just, it's, as you
Yeah,
know, it's beneficial for your mental health in a huge way. And for whatever reason, that has just been shoved by the wayside by men. Modern day men are like community. I don't need a team. I don't need a tribe of men around me. That's kind of silly. I'm a lone wolf, darn it. I'm the alpha male, tough guy. You're setting yourself up for depression
yeah,
and all kinds of mental not so good things there. To have a sense of community, yes, a sense of a safety net to fall back on. It's like a crucial part of humanness. We need that in order to function properly. I got to know that I got a community behind me. This was very much the case for generations before us, where it was you lived with your mom and dad, who and down the block was grandma and grandpa, and aunt and uncle was over there, and when
yeah,
something
yeah,
happened,
yeah,
they all
yeah,
came together to help each other.
yeah,
Now it's I'll talk to a guy like, I live in California and my wife and I just got a divorce and I don't know anybody here. Well, where are you from originally? New York, all the way across the country on the other coast. Well, why did you go over there? There was a job opportunity. So he left everything to go a job, maybe her job or her family, whatever. And he's just left alone. And that's not good.
no.
So it behooves men to create their own community, which is really, really tough for men, it seems.
Yeah, it is, and for friendships, the older you get, it's harder to
It's
form these
tough.
friendships there as
Mhm.
well. As humans, we're designed to be in tribes. We're meant to be amongst people. If we're not, look at, let's be extreme. Somebody sent to prison. Yeah, what happens if they misbehave in prison? What do they do? They're in
Solitary confinement.
isolation,
Hmm.
solitary confinement.
Which,
Yeah.
which many countries see as a form of torture.
Yes, exactly. You're
Because
on
it
your
is.
own.
It,
Nobody.
it makes
Yeah,
you crazy. When you
yeah,
want to
of
see other
course.
humans for a while, you start going
Yeah.
nuts. Hmm.
Yeah, and so we're designed to have company. We're designed to be around people, and trying to just do it on your own. And I explain it to people. There's only so much you can do on your own. Other times,
Yeah.
you need other people to help you there as well. Yeah,
I
and
used to,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, go on.
I used to, before doing all this, I used to do marketing work for companies. And so they would bring me in to help do all the creative stuff for them to help market their business. And so I would work with like the head dude of the company. So the CEO, the guy who founded the company 20 years ago and grew it to a multi-million dollar company. And I would know this guy who knew this guy who knew this guy. So I kind of got
Yeah,
into their network. And when you meet with all of them, they're all the same. They're all like, I can't do this alone. And every Friday I meet with my business group, and every Wednesday I meet with my other group, and I meet with my coach or my mentor on Saturday. They all realize they have a community and they all
yeah,
help each other. So I sat in the meetings with them, and the guy would be like, "Does anybody know anybody who handles this IT thing or whatever?" Like, my guy can't do it. I got a guy for you. Call him. You need da da da, and he'll set you up with somebody. And does anybody know about that? Yep, call him. You want to do this and do that. Don't whatever you do, don't spend money on this. So that really opened my eyes to. I had in my mind that everyone was just this lone wolf that just did it themselves. Jeff Bezos was alone in his basement doing, creating Amazon all by himself. No, he
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah,
He had a
yeah,
tribe around him. Steve
yeah,
Jobs, they had a tribe around him. He realized you're my right hand man. I need you. I need you. I need you. Same thing
yeah.
applies to you're going through like an emotional trauma. Don't think you can just be, I can just tough it out and do it myself. Why not raise your hand and go, anybody been through this? What have you done? And if you got 10 guys raising their hand and go, I'll tell you exactly what I did. Whatever you do, don't waste your time doing this. That's invaluable. But it
Yeah,
is something that for whatever reason just hasn't gotten across to the mainstream, I guess you could say.
no, because it's like the mental health, as you know, it's getting better. But guys, often mainly guys, but obviously women as well. But guys, I find are worried that it's weakness asking for help, and I say that's strength. Because people come to a therapist for the first time, and usually they've gone everywhere else they can go. None of it's worked. So last resort is how to get therapy. You should have done this before 2 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
I said that's straight. You're manning up, getting on with it, ignoring what your body's telling you. That's your weakness. Strength is like I've got a problem, something's not right, and I don't know how to deal with that. That's fine. That's strength. You can get some help now. All right. You don't know all the answers, but you might in the end. Because at the moment, you're gonna go around in circles and the sign of insanity is doing the same
Hmm.
thing over and over.
There you go.
So that's it. One of the first things that I always ask clients, especially new clients that are struggling, I'm like, who's your support network? That's how
Hmm.
important it is. Who have you got around you? I ain't got anyone. What about this? What about that? Because I'm always trying to find if there's anybody there as well. Because like you said, it's so important to have a support network there as well.
Yeah.
How do the guys that you've got in that group there feel now? There's some a massive support network. Then do they, what do they do? Do they sort of post something or anyone help? I
Hmm.
got this going on. How does it work?
Yeah, the very first thing we do, we send them like a series of emails when you join up. This is day one challenge. And your challenge on day number one is post your story in the group. So you'll have a guy that'll have several paragraphs long, and it's so funny. You can always see the Mr. Nice Guy types. They're like, I'm sorry for making this so long. They always start with an apology. I'm sorry to bore you with my details. I'm sorry if this is too much to take in. I'm sorry. And it's like, Just share it, dude. We've heard it all.
Yeah,
Trust me." And there's also
yeah,
an option in the group where you can post anonymously, which we don't suggest because we like to keep track of guys'
yeah,
stories.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's tough to keep track of a story when a guy says anonymous member 1257, but every now and then a guy will be like, I'm so ashamed of what I'm about to share that I'm going to post it first time anonymously and see how it goes. And the stories are so nothing, but to
yeah,
them, but to them, it's everything. And it's such a monumentous thing to say help or just to share that they're filled with shame. And it's sad.
yeah. Yeah, because a lot of the times they build it up in their mind to catastrophize about it. I mean, I had a guy come to me once, and he was and I'll just sort of play things down, and he was like, "Oh, I'm really stressed. I want to have sex with my own family members," and I'm like, "Do you?" He went, "Oh God, no." I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." And he's like, "What do you mean, don't worry about it?" He said, "I've been so stressed. I've come to therapy, first session, 2 minutes in, and you're saying to me, don't worry about it." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because you don't want to do that." He went, "Oh God, that's the worst thing in the world." I said, "It's just anxiety." He went, "How can you tell?" I said, "You catastrophize and there's something unresolved. And it's just your brain is going, this is the most extreme thing I can come up with, which is that."
Mm,
We did some work and it turns out that he'd lost a family member that he hadn't dealt with. And we dealt with the root cause there as well. But he'd built it up so much and been too, don't worry about it. There's nothing there. You don't want to do that. But your brain will go to the most extreme set of circumstances. They will then go off on a tangent. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. Lucky enough,
yeah,
a
it's
lot of
interesting.
times you can bring them back and go, that's just anxiety. Don't
And
worry about
that's what
that.
they need to hear. It's the putting the proverbial arm around their shoulder, going, "It's all right, buddy. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
No biggie. We've been there, done that.
Yeah.
People have been through way worse than this. You're good. You'll be fine." And
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
that's all they take, and the shoulders drop, and they're like, "It's good to
Just,
hear that."
yeah. It's sometimes just giving a bit of reassurance. The difference, you can sometimes see the weight lifted by just giving them some reassurance. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
says this and this and this. I was like, right, here's why it won't happen. If I'm wrong, come and let me know. And they sort of like laugh about it. Um, but yeah, to be able to go somewhere to get a reassurance is massive because if they didn't come to like yourself or whatever, there might not be anywhere else for them to go. And they're too
Hmm.
busy, they're going to be too busy carrying on, going around in circles, repeating the same belief system, and the anxiety is getting bigger and bigger and bigger there as well. And then the more fight or flight they're in, the less likely they're going to be to reach out there as well.
And there is a subset, which is a pretty growing popular subset on the internet, which is basically like a form of victimhood, where you get a lot of men together in a group, so to speak, that will talk about what all the problems that they went through in life and what is the source of all the problems? Women. So they love to point across to women, women, women. Women are to blame for everything. Women are this, women are that. It's all women. This is like a huge thing. And so you'll find just YouTube video after YouTube video going, why women are horrible. The modern day women is awful and all these other things. And we get some of those guys in our group and you can tell immediately because their little intro post is just basically all about nothing about him. Nothing about his role and everything. He doesn't take ultimate responsibility for his life. It's all them, them, them. Am I right, guys? And that's a tough nut to crack. So the guys kind of find their own little community in that way, but then they realize they're just spinning their wheels and they're not really going anywhere when they're just constantly pointing the finger.
I think one of the things that's like hardest for me to learn along the way is that we can all be like a victim of something, but it's then taking accountability that somebody might have done us wrong, like an ex-partner. But what was my role in that? Well, listen, the warning signs and the red flags were there at the start. You chose to ignore them. Kind of what do you expect? Now, in hindsight, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that. Okay, now if you had made those
There you go.
choices, would you have had that outcome? No, probably not. So you're gonna have to take some accountability there as well. What caused you to ignore that? Maybe let's work on that. That sort of thing. That can make a big difference there. It's just when you've got like somebody that would just will blame everybody else. They're avoidant. They can't take accountability. It's like, yeah, this could take a while to get
Hmm.
into it.
That's very common in our world, unfortunately. And you see, it's not a sexist thing to say men do that, women do the same. There's all kinds of online communities of victimhood. It's a big thing. You
Oh,
can make a lot of money off victimhood too. You can tell people,
oh,
yeah, it's them, it's them. Pay me $15,000, and people, a
yeah,
lot of anxious guys hand over a lot of money for people just to blow smoke up their butt, so to speak.
yeah. Sometimes people just want to be told what they want to hear. As a therapist, I can't do that. I'll be honest, and you might not like what I'm saying, but I'm not going to waste your time and money by
Hmm.
telling you what you want to hear because it's not going to benefit you. Okay, I can reassure you on certain things, but I'm not going to tell you something that isn't true or isn't correct or whatever it might be. Some people want to live in the victimhood.
Mm.
And you would have had people come to you where they just want to be the victim and feel sorry for themselves and get all the sympathy in the world. And again, I'm very blunt. I don't know about yourself, how you deal with that, but I'm like, look, you could be the most wronged person. You can search for all the sympathy in the world you want and get every bit of sympathy in the world, right, that you're after, but it's not going to make a blind bit of difference to your life because your
Exactly.
life's got to change it. Yeah.
Oh, you're cutting out on me a little bit here.
Sort of kind of word out because you must get,
Your audio and you're all frozen on me there. You're cutting out on me.
you're back now. We're all good.
Yep, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. How do you
So
deal when you get a guy like that that comes back?
it's the no BS. It's the I'm not gonna, one example of this isn't exactly the same, but this is where men will put walls of, in a way, it is kind of quasi victimhood. A man will say, Ralph, before we get started with this, I'm never going to divorce my wife. So let's just put that out there. So don't even suggest it. I'm a man of faith, or my vows, or I take my vows very seriously, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And then he will just lay into me the worst situation you've ever heard in your life, where he's with a monster. Talk about narcissistic. That doesn't even begin to describe it. He's been wronged for the last 20 years by this woman who's treated him like dirt and continues to do so and cheats and all this other stuff. And he's like, and I'm not divorcing her. So what do you got for me, basically? And it's like, you're looking for a magic bullet that will instantly change the personality of your partner and make her a loving, sweet individual that you've been pining for the last 2 decades. That does not exist. I'm sure somebody else will sell you hope that that may exist and they'll take a lot of money, but we can just stop this right now if you want. I can give you your money back and tell you it's bullshit.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
wakes them up to go, I like the honesty. Okay, let's continue on. And you realize that you're just a very insecure dude and you need a lot of help. And are you talking to anybody right now with a therapy or anything like that? No. I suggest you do to get to the bottom of some of this. That's outside of my pay grade, mister. What I can tell you is just what I've done going through all this and what these other guys have done. But you have a lot of work to do on getting to the root of this because if you don't address it, It's never going to get better ever. And dude, I'm not going to bullshit you. It's not going to get better with her. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, 20 years, the same outcome, and suddenly it's going to change. And this is what I say to a lot of clients is that when they're with it's very common where they're with like a terrible partner or whatever. Oh, he said he's going to change and he's going to do this and that. Okay, has he gone to
Mm,
therapy? Is he working on himself? No, he said he was going to, but now he's not. Okay, it will not happen. Even if he goes all out on his best behavior to try everything he can to possibly do it, he won't. He's sprinting to stand still, and it's not sustainable. He's got these usually unresolved issues, haven't dealt with
mhm.
until he deals with that, and you just go around in circles. And you're
Yeah.
never wrong on that. You're never wrong. Again, it's like predicting the patterns there, and it's pretty straightforward there. So
Yeah.
and
One of the phrases I often use for men is, dude, that's just who she is. And she has told you this for decades now. That is who she is. You're asking for a fundamental personality shift, and that is not going to happen. Best case scenario is that she raises her hand and says, I need help because I keep blowing up my relationships and I keep
yeah,
this is a very good man I have here and I'm about to lose my family.
yeah,
How often does that happen? Not very often with a lot of these
no,
hyper avoidant, almost kind of narcissistic types. It's just to raise their hand and say, I need a little help with here is like the antithesis of who they are. So, but that's what it takes. But
yeah,
there's a lot of kind of quasi macho alpha male stuff out there that basically says, we as men have so much power in our masculinity that we can change her. All you got to do is look really good, be ultra masculine and tough, dress a certain way, have the six
yeah,
pack abs that be extra super macho and alpha malish, and you'll fix your wife's hyper avoidant, narcissistic, cheating ways. She will suddenly go, look at the prize I have. I'm gonna flip it. Does that
yeah,
happen? Yes, but not with that type of woman. It doesn't happen. That's a very deep thing that you're not going to solve on your own. She needs to go get help.
yeah,
And then the follow up is if she does by some miracle go, yeah, you're right, I need help. Usually it's because she's about to lose her family and her kids don't like her anymore or whatever. She's hit her rock
yeah,
bottom. Um,
yeah,
you better be patient because it's going to be years of therapy. It's going to
yeah.
be
This is
years
what I
of
say.
you two working together, she working on her own, you working on your
Yeah,
own. It ain't going to be easy. And what
yeah,
I've seen for a lot of these guys is they don't have the patience because while they're working with me and their therapist in the group, their sense of security and their sense of self worth goes up
exactly.
and they tolerate a lot less bullshit. And
Yeah, they
so
got confidence.
they'll have a good week with their wife where she's going to her therapy sessions and she's doing great. And he's like, all right, maybe we're making headway here. This is great. And then the next week she's like, I don't feel like going up. And he's like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah,
Sign the
yeah.
papers.
Yeah, you see the progress, you're putting the work in, and then you have, especially therapy, you're starting to see the relationship from a different perspective. You can actually see the issues there. They're never going to go away. So, unless she changes, and if she says, "Well, I'm not changing," well, you know what you're going to get. Actually, I'm this new guy now. I've got new surroundings and environments, everything. I don't need this anymore, and I can go on and move on. So it's been brilliant talking to you. I've loved every second talking to you. You're absolutely like flying with everything that you do in there as well. What's the future looking like? Because you look with what you're doing, it's all growing. It looks unstoppable.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Continue to grow the group, add more conferences. We hopefully have one in Europe here soon, so we can talk to our European guys in person and meet everybody in person. We're looking at maybe in Spain, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, continue to grow the group, continue spreading the message, selling more and more books. Books continue to be my number one source of men into the group and coming into my world. So continue to sell more books. I have a nice little library of 5 of them that I've written up to this point. My latest that you mentioned at the top of this is Rebuild, and you guys
Yeah,
can learn more. Go to readrebuild.com, or go to our main website, helpformen.com. All takes you to the same place. And
yeah,
there you'll find out about our Brotherhood, which is our private support community for men. And you can jump right to the join page at helpformen.com/join, and you'll see all the little, there is a small fee involved in paying it. You can pay month to month, year to year, or pay a one-time
yeah, yeah,
fee. Covers all the costs of all those meetings and the forums and everything else that we talked about.
yeah.
So yeah, I'd love for your listeners and viewers here to join us.
Yeah, and we'll have all of the links in the description there. So that'll be on your YouTube. That'll be on obviously all the podcast platforms there as well. Ralph, thank you ever so much for coming on and taking the time out. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.